So, very warm welcome. We're at Catalina Airport on the island of Catalina. Actually, it's Avalon Airport on the island of Catalina. Kilo Alpha Victor X-Ray. We're in the SimWorks Studios Daher Kodiak 100. And just give me a sec. I've got to turn FS Realistic down a bit. Airport ambience, GA. Thank you. That was getting a bit loud. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple of circuits in the Daher. This is a very powerful single-engine turboprop, massive propeller, big airframe, slab-sided, so it handles. Well, it handles, I guess, realistically, but you need some rudder. You need to get your rudder busy in this. And when you first start this aircraft, the rudder's already set. You've got a bit of right rudder set, and that's by default because there are a lot of torque factors, you know, propeller, the prop wash acting on the tailplane. You've got the friction more on one side than the other, depends which way the prop's turning, of course, in different aircraft types. And you know, the big P factor, so the prop goes one way, the aircraft goes the other. So yeah, there's lots to consider. So they've added a bit of default trim to the rudder, and we're just going to do a couple of circuits without that. And we're also going to look very closely at what they call the turn coordinator. Now, the Kodiak, as with many modern aircraft, have got the Garmin G1000 screens. It hasn't got the classic turn coordinator that we're used to seeing. However, even with these glass instruments, there is still a turn coordinator built into it. So let me just explain what I mean by turn coordinator. So the first thing is, let's just zoom into this a bit. The classic turn coordinator is shown here at the top. Okay, there's three images of it. The first one, the aircraft is banking to the right, and the ball is in the center, which means it is in a perfectly what they call coordinated turn, and it's comfortable for the passengers. The aircraft is turning nicely, and you're able to predict accurately what's going to happen. So it's a nice 30-degree turn. No, 50. Well, actually, I can't quite remember what the angle of bank there is, but that's what they call a rate 1 turn. So it's 3 degrees per second. You can see that because the right wing is on this marker here. Okay, rate 1 turn. So actually, you can do a turn and time it, and you can actually roll out on the turn on a particular heading without actually looking out the window. Okay, because it's 3 degrees per second when you're on a rate 1 turn. So moving to the next one, you can see the aircraft is still in the right-hand bank, okay, but the ball is to the left. And this is what they call a skid. And it's a bit like, let me just show you, this. Okay, wheels are pointing one way, and the cars are turning the other way. It's in a skid, a tail skid, okay? And that's not a coordinated turn. All right, so this is skid. And what you would do, think of it like a football and a goal in the middle, and you would use your left foot, left rudder, to kick the ball into the middle. And on this last turn coordinator here, you've got the ball to the right, and this is what's called this slip. And you would use your right rudder to kick the ball into the goal in the middle. Okay, and the goal would be to fly with coordinated turns. So the slower you fly, the more rudder you've got to use, and when you're turning, you've got to keep the ball in the middle by using your rudder. Okay, and when you're taking off on the Kodiak, you've got lots of P factors, lots of torque, lots of prop wash. That's why they give it a bit of default trim. And if you've ever tried to fly on the autopilot, you'll find that actually it doesn't hold the heading because the trim is set on the rudder, and yeah, you just need to bear it in mind. and we're going to take the trim off, in fact, just to do our circuits, just to show, you know, what the effects are. Here's the Garmin screen, and it's still got a turn coordinator, the ball, and that is represented here. Let's look at it slightly bigger here, by that small line beneath those two triangles. So the top triangle just shows you whether your bank is 0. The bottom one shows you your roll point. It shows you where you're banked at that time, and that line beneath the bottom triangle is actually the ball. Okay, so I might refer to it as the ball when I'm flying, but I'm sure you'll know what I mean. It's the slip skid indicator as it's written here. Okay, but effectively it is the same. It serves the same function as the ball in your turn coordinator, telling you whether you're going around a corner perfectly as if on rails and it's comfortable for the passengers, and or whether you're on a skid or on a slip. Okay, and yeah, if you're on a skid, you're flying out of balance, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's a bit like turning the corner like this. Okay, it feels a bit wrong, and the passengers will feel it, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, so with that in mind, let's get going. So first things first, we're just going to run with default weights. Let's just switch the fuel on. We'll hide the yoke. We've got real weather running at the moment, so we'll put the master, just zoom in a bit, there we go. We'll get the avionics bus, the auxiliary bus on, we'll get some lights, and this is the emergency fuel cutoff, so we'll set that, so the fuel is on, propeller is fully forward, condition lever is idle cutoff, and the throttle is full power lever is at idle. Okay, so we are good to start, as always with the middle Garmin screen. It is the soft keys at the bottom, the rightmost soft key, and that will switch that on. We're going to press B just to set our barometric pressure, and that is, well, we should be in inches of mercury, so should we do that? No, I'm just going to leave it with hectopascals or millibars there, so 1017. And we should just check what the winds are. I'm just going to bring in active sky. I'm going to go to conditions. I'm going to just type in the ICAO code in case it's not giving us the weather here. And we've got wind 140 at 3. And the runway is 0422. So we're going to be on runway 22. Okay, so 22. So I'm going to put the heading bug on 22. So I'm just going to drag it all the way across to here. So let's do that now. And that gives us a visual indication of when we're doing our rectangular circuits where we can roll out. And you'll see that in action, how easy it makes circuits. We've got the trims here. So we've got elevator trim, which is neutral, and rudder trim, which you can see is nearly halfway across that scale, and SimWorks Studios have set that as a default. Okay, so if you're wondering why it doesn't quite track on an autopilot, that's why. So let's just switch that off. So what I'm going to do is zoom out a little bit, and the trim button is here, and I'm just going to set that to 0. You can see it moving very slowly. There we go. That looks about right. Yeah, that'll do nicely. Okay, so let's get going. So we've got our beacon, our nav light on. I'll put our fuel pump to on. We'll put our starter on. We'll just check the park breakers on. It is, yeah. So we're looking for about 15. We got 20, so that's good. So we put condition lever on. Oops, bring it back a bit. Yeah. And we're looking for a hot or a hung start. So we've got T's and P's, pressure and temperature. They're both rising, oil pressure, oil temperature, and we've got a good start. Good. So we can now do our generator, our alternator, put our fuel pump back to standby. We don't need the ignition on, but we can switch the starter off if I can with the mouse. Goodness. Okay, we want one Sager flap. We want taxi lights, and we can get going. So the altitude here is about 1,600 feet. So we'll do our circuits at about 2,600. Okay, I do find this a little bit small to read, so we will do our best with that. But I also have a Cytec FIP panel which I can read. So let's get going. We've got a taxi light on, so we're blinding that poor chap in front of us. So let's get going. Now there's another thing that we need to bear in mind with the turn quarter. I'm just going to turn away from that chap. So okay. So let's just come to a stop. So when we turn during taxi, that is the perfect opportunity to test the slip ball, the slip indicator here. Okay, this line. So when we turn to the left, imagine for a moment that we've got the classic instrument here. Turn to the left. Where is the ball going to go? When you take a corner in a car and you turn left, you push to the right, aren't you? So when we turn left, that ball is going to go to the right. This line is going to go to the right. And when we turn to the right, we're going to be pushed to the left. So that ball, or this line, will go to the left. So it's a perfect opportunity to check that that instrument is actually working. So let's do that now. We're going to turn left onto that taxiway there. Okay, so here we go. Left. You see the ball's gone to the right. Okay, turning left, ball right. That's what you call. Just so you do a visual check. And we're going to turn right here, so that ball should go to the left. There you go. Okay, so I won't exaggerate those turns anymore, because otherwise you think I'm taxiing like an Italian. So the idea is that we keep that ball or that line. I'm going to refer to it as a ball. It's much easier because it's in my head. To keep that ball centered underneath that triangle. Okay, so I'm just going to apply the brakes. We don't want to taxi too fast. This is going down the hill, and there's literally nothing beyond that, beyond us in front. We're just going to fall off the cliff. Right then, so let's come to a stop. So we'll get some more lights on, we'll get our strobe light on, get our landing lights, pulse lights on, taxi light can come off, we'll get our inertial separator on. I should have done that to start with, but better late than never. These are very expensive engines. So let's taxi onto the runway. And let's see how we go. So we're going to do a left-hand circuit. Now look at the position of the heading bug. Okay, that was directly behind us. As I turn left here, to line up, okay, you can see that that is gradually coming in. There we go, nicely lined up, and it's now perfectly centered. Okay, that heading bug. So as we take off and we turn our crosswind leg to the left, that is going to start moving to the right, and when it gets to our 3 o'clock, we know that we're established on our crosswind leg, and we can continue to our downward leg, and that'll be the opposite direction, so that heading bug will then move from here to the bottom. Okay, but you'll see it in action. So it's a good visual indicator. I'm just going to center it now, so by clicking the heading knob, okay, because it's just slightly off to the left. Right, condition lever fully forward, and you can hear the engine spooling up a little bit. Okay, so let's get going. So we've got no rudder trim. Okay, so this is raw. I'm going to have a hard job keeping this centered. The rudder trim was very helpful to keep the aircraft straight. Okay, so I'm just using a lot of rudder to keep centered on that on that centre line. We're looking for about 65 knots. We have that, so we can rotate, and immediately you can see the aircraft goes off to the left. Okay, so I've just got to keep that heading. There we go, so we're now on the runway heading. And I'm going to just turn, pull back the prop and the power a little bit, and I'm going to turn now, and I'm going to keep that ball centered, that slip ball at the top centered. Okay, and you'll find that the circuits are a lot easier. So we're just coming up to 2600 feet. Okay, so just reduce power a bit. We're now just rolling out on our crosswind, and in fact we'll just go straight to our downwind. Okay, so we're about 2600. I'm using the cowling ahead of me. And I don't want to go fast here. I've got one stage of flaps still out. Okay, and I'm going to roll out on the downwind. Trying to keep that ball centered. Using the right rudder, left rudder. Okay, rolling out now. And we should see the runway. There we go. There's the runway. So we are just a little bit low. We're not interested in doing high speed in the circuit. I've got one stage of flap out, doing about 90 knots, 80 knots, apologies. Okay, so I'm just trimming just so we stay level. Okay, and when that runway threshold gets to our 45 degrees behind us, we can then turn base leg. We want to keep our circuits tight, really tight, really tight. Okay, so we're 2600 feet, so that runway is now pretty much in our 45 degrees behind us. So reducing power, one more stage of flap, and I'm going to turn to our left, again keeping that slip indicator centered as best as possible. And we're going to roll out when that heading knob, that heading bug gets to the 9 o'clock position, and that way we know we're exactly square. So let's look. There we go. Other reasons why circuits tend to go a bit skew with, a bit skewed, not quite rectangular, is wind, and often the effect of wind is underestimated. Okay, so just pulling back on the power a little bit, and we're ready to turn our finals. Okay, and we do one more stage of flap, and we go full on the propeller. And there we go. Just keep that turn going, and I'm just keeping that slip ball nicely centered. We've probably overcooked it a little bit. Yeah, not by much though, not too bad. Okay, and the idea now is to keep that runway right in the same position in the windscreen, obviously aligned with the runway, which we are not. So we're looking for 65 knots, which is still above the stall speed. I'm trimming the aircraft like mad, just with my yoke. Okay, so 65 knots we've got, just a little bit low. Pitch with speed, power for rate of climb, rate of descent.
500.
Okay. Keeping that runway in the same position in the window, we know we'll get there then. And rounding out, holding it off, holding it off. It's only 900 meters. 2 stages of flap up, full power, and we're looking for 65 knots. 65 we've got. Rotate, just keeping that ball centered. See what I mean? It really, it's yeah, keeping that ball centered. There we go. Prop back, power back, climb power, and we can go around now to the right. And we'll roll out on our crosswind. And using a lot of, oops, wrong slip there. Goodness me, it's quite hard work. You've got to do a lot of pedal work. So we'll just roll out. We're now on the crosswind, pretty much rolling out, and we are now at 2,600 feet. We can come round onto a downwind, a little bit high. I don't want to overspeed here. I don't want to go too high. 26 is what we're looking for, so we'll stick to the plan. So we're just rolling out shortly on downwind. We're at 26 now. Look to our left, there's the runway. It'd be interesting to know what the wind is, because we overcooked that cross that base turn a little bit. So I'm looking for about 80 knots, 90 knots, something like that. And you can use the predictive, see that little magenta marker that goes up and down here? That's predictive airspeed. It tells you where your airspeed is going to be in 5 seconds. And that helps keep, the right power. So let's have a look. Right, that's about 45 degrees behind us. So we can come round now to our base leg. One stage of flap, cutting the power a little bit, keeping that slip ball in the middle, best of my ability. We'll just do a couple of circuits, one more after this, and we're just going to roll out shortly, about 75 knots. And remember, you adjust speed with pitch and power for rate of climb or descent. So rolling out now. There we go, nicely square with the runway, and we are going to turn. We're not going to overcook it this time, so we can go around now. One more stage of flap, prop can go to full, and we're looking for about 65 knots. We just keep the runway in sight. This thing handles beautifully at low speed. But you saw how difficult it is when you give that engine full welly. There we go. So that was nicely done. Okay, so props fully forward, flaps are full, and runway's in sight. So just keep that runway in the same place in the window. Don't let it rise or sink. Keep it in the same place. So we're looking for about 65 knots. Trimming all the time. Just so I don't have to keep. There we go, 65 knots we've got. And we're looking to just pop it down onto the runway. Okay, we're holding that centre line. Two stages of flap come up. Full power, and again just watching that, holding the runway centre line as best as I can. 65 knots, round we go, and you see immediately massive torque effect. Massive torque effect. Okay, so we are good to turn crosswind. Just keeping that ball centred. Props coming back, power's coming back. And I'm trimming, and I'm going to roll out on crosswind, looking at the heading bug. It's so useful, that heading bug, when you're doing circuits. Okay, I'm rolling out, still climbing up to 2.6. Okay, and we can now turn downwind. Oops, keep that ball centred. See, it's very easy just to momentarily forget. So we're about 2.6, so we're good. And I'll just pull the power back. And rolling out downwind. And look to our left, there's the runway. Okay. So we should do some checks. So what were they? They were brakes off, pressure good, undercarriage is down, mixture is full rich, and fuel is on and sufficient for go around, and hatches, harnesses, passengers, clearance, and so on and so forth. I've forgotten everything. Right, let's look behind us. So we're not quite 45 degrees, but we are very high. That's very bad. Let's pull that power back. Too much talking, I think. Let's just come back down to 2600. Let's look to our left. So I think we're good to turn base. So we're about 2600 now. So power's back. One stage of flap. And keep that ball. That's slip indicator centered. Nice. Brake one turn. And round we go. And we'll roll out on our base leg. Okay. Lots of trimming needed just to help you. Okay, and we're much lower than we were before. That's okay. We're good. Okay, and we can start our turn now. So full flat, props going forward. And we're again keeping that runway in the same horizontal position in the window. It means that we know we'll get there. There we go. And we're looking for 65 knots, which we've got. This is going to be a full stop landing. We're nicely trimmed out, so I can actually let go of my control column. I'm not going to though. 66 knots, 68 knots. So, flaps are full, brakes are off, pressure is good, undercarriage is down, mixture is full, rich, landing light, hatches, harnesses, clearances. We're good. Oops, a little bit slow, one knot slow. But you see, we're still within the white arc, so we're not in danger of stalling. And it handles beautifully. Absolutely, this is a lovely aircraft. Really, truly, truly lovely. Okay, and we'll just bring the power back. And power back, holding it off. And this is a full stop landing. There we go. Just a bit of beta. And rolling off the runway. So we won't do our after landing checks until we're the other side of the hold, because this side of the hold is still considered runway, so you don't do anything to do the other side of that. Okay, we've just come to a stop here. So flaps can come up. We can do our strobe light. We can do landing, oops, wrong one, taxi light, and inertial separator can stay on, and let's get parked up. It really is a fabulous aircraft, and I really recommend this. Normally I'm not very keen on Garmin equipped aircraft, however this aircraft was built around it. Okay, and what's that Bowser doing? They go away. I'll go the other side of the Bowser, and I'll go and park where we started. I'm not usually a fan of them, but this aircraft was built around the Garmin 1000, so it's a perfect fit, perfect marriage. So we'll park where he started. Okay, and I don't want to blind that chappie on the ground, so we'll put our taxi light. Wrong light, there we go, taxi light, there we go. So we'll just taxi along the tarmac edge. Don't know if we can park him, but in front of him we won't try. I think that'd be a bit too tight. But we'll put full brake on there and just add power and just use the prop wash to help us turn on a sixpence. Lots of power. That prop wash is acting on the rudder. There we go. So we get our brake on. Just show you that on the outside. Lots of full brake on the right or on the left. Okay. Full rudder to get the nose wheel steering, and a lot of power, so the prop wash goes around the fuselage and hits the rudder, hits the fin, and that pushes your aircraft. You use the power of the engine to help you turn. There we go. So I think we're good. So taxi light is off, everything is off, and we can shut down, I think. So condition lever going back to idle cutoff, fuel cutoff, switch the fuel off at the top. Okay, so it's a really excellent aircraft, this, really. So beacon can come off, we can do our generator, alternator, fuel pump, those two, and that one. Sorted. Probably not the way you do it, but heck. SimWorks Studios were having a sale over Christmas. I'm sure they'll have another. You could pick up most of their products for $9.99. I really recommend them, most especially the Kodiak and the PC-12. Really not to be missed. So let's have a look. There we go. Excellent aircraft. Comes in lots of variants. This is the passenger variant. Got 8, I think, 8 seats at the back. Yeah, 8 seats. And yeah, really nice. Okay, so there you go. Circuits at Catalina in the SimWorks Studios Quest Kodiak, or these days Daher Kodiak 100. Right, I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you on the next one. Bye now.